Hey everyone! The story begins with Ethan and Emma driving anxiously toward a safe location as alarming news plays over the car radio. A dangerous virus is spreading, and authorities are urging everyone to shelter in place. They discuss the best route to reach safety, but before they can make a decision, their car suddenly crashes. In the early morning, Ethan wakes up, disoriented and realizing that a significant amount of time has passed. He exits the car through the passenger side and notices a trail of blood leading away, likely from Emma. Frantically, he calls her name as he stumbles around the crash site, but there's no response. The scene around him is ominous. Streets lined with abandoned houses and destroyed cars show that devastation has taken over. Pleas for help are scrawled on rooftops, and the once populated neighborhood now feels desolate. It's clear that terrifying events have turned the world into a bleak reminder of what's been lost. It's Nacho here. Subscribe Nacho Movie Recaps. Large commercial airplane can be seen crashed on a hillside. While still searching around, Ethan sees a truck approaching and asks it to stop. The man in the truck bed is armed and asks Ethan if he is lost. Ethan says he is not, that he woke up there and doesn't know where he is. Upon saying this, the man simply points his gun at him, but before he can shoot, someone shoots at him first from another location, missing the target. This makes him miss the shot at Ethan, who quickly hides behind a wall, being shot at multiple times. The man in the truck shoots wildly, trying to hit the hidden shooter attacking him. But soon enough, the man is hit, as well as the truck driver. Ethan feels relieved seeing that the men who tried to kill him are now lying on the ground. However, the mysterious shooter soon reveals themselves, going toward the fallen man and finishing him off. The shooter, in this case, is known as May. She tells Ethan he shouldn't be alone out there while trying to activate some mechanism on the truck. Ethan tries to explain what happened to him, but May asks him
to help her with something. They try to carry the man's body off the ground, but just before they succeed, Ethan faints. He wakes up for a moment and sees that he is being taken in the bed of the truck, but again he faints and has a brief dream of Emma, where she is dragged away. Ethan now wakes up in a bed in a room and immediately calls out for Emma. He arrives in the kitchen of the house and finds May again. She asks him what he can remember, and with some effort, he recalls that he was trying to go to another location with his girlfriend Emma. Ethan can't remember anything more than that and is astonished by what has happened to the world, seeing news clippings on a wall. May explains that all this happened years ago and that scientists say it was nature trying to rebalance everything by eliminating humans. May uses solar energy in that location, and at that very moment, there's a collapse. She goes outside to check, telling Ethan to stay there and not touch anything. Contrary to what she said, Ethan goes outside the house and sees they are on a farm with an incredible view. Ethan looks around and sees near a stable what appears to be a
human skull full of spider webs and surprisingly moving. He gets scared and tries to warn May about it. May, quite accustomed to the presence of the skull, says it's just Myrtle, and sarcastically adds that she's fine, just not to get too close to her. Then, ignoring this bizarre and surreal fact, he notices the old solar panels that May has there. He seems to understand about it and asks to take a look. Identifying the problem, he quickly fixes it but nearly faints again. He does his best not to react rudely to May's lifestyle, but he can't hide his shock when she pulls a dead possum from a trap, saying that dinner will be good tonight. Entering the house, she locks the various locks on the door and tells Ethan not to go snooping around, as all the rooms are filled with traps. He starts to ask what kind of traps there are but stops mid-sentence when he sees her swiftly pull out her weapon, pointing it at him. His astonishment only increases when she puts the gun in his hand and asks him to pull the trigger. He refuses, and she congratulates him for making the right decision, showing that there are tricks even with the weapon. Since the red part of her device is exposed, he would have been in big trouble had he shot. After dinner, Ethan thanks her for the hospitality and says he needs to continue on his way as he still has to find his girlfriend. But May isn't about to let his hospitality go unpaid that easily and asks for his help generating energy by pedaling. While he sweats on the bike, she drinks a beverage and puts a record on the phonograph. As soon as he mentions looking for Emma, she cuts him off and insists he come dance with her. Ethan feels awkward refusing but finds himself increasingly uncomfortable. Behind her tough facade, it becomes evident that May is very lonely and looking for companionship. She suggests a new pastime every time he tries to leave. After dancing, it's a card game. Finally, when it's late at night, she says she can't let him go outside at this hour, as it's too risky. Promising to help him search for Emma the next day, she takes him to the guest room. As soon as she goes to sleep, Ethan starts thinking about his girlfriend, who may be worrying about him later. His memory remains a bit fuzzy, and he seems to remember things in confusing flashes. The place they were heading to when the accident occurred was a cabin by a lake. The agreement between the couple was to head directly there if something went wrong and they accidentally separated. Ignoring the warnings about going out at night, he decides to steal the truck, which is already stolen after all. It's a long road to the cabin, and there are no other cars in sight. Ethan seems tired and almost loses control during a nap, but at least the sign on the road warns that the lake is nearby. Before reaching it, he seems to lose consciousness again for a few moments and wakes up in front of the cabin parked car. Several boards have been nailed to cover the door, and no one responds when he shouts his girlfriend's name. Removing one of the boards, he breaks the glass to unlock it and enters. As he starts calling again, the person who appears in the hallway is not Emma. Her name is Jolene, and the boy hiding behind the couch is Sam. In a state of alert like everyone he has encountered so far, she points her gun at him and makes him drop the crowbar. Ethan discovers the reason for all the concern when a sound of heavy footsteps announces a visitor, and an inexplicable thing appears at the door. The creature looks like a human skeleton covered in moss, with a tuft of grass sticking out of its back. Jolene runs to close the door, and Ethan has to help her, as the creature is very strong. The fingers of the monstrous hand end up rolling on the floor when the door slams shut. However, thanks to Ethan's recent invasion, the zombie manages to break another window and grabs Jolene's head before smashing the rest of the door. She drops the gun in shock, but Ethan discovers it is not loaded when he tries to use it. So he grabs a hammer from the floor and hits the intruder until he sees it fall. Jolene lays the boy down a few minutes later. Watching the creature through the window, Ethan is astonished that it still moves after so many hammer strikes. Jolene says that the zombies around there are at an advanced stage and are more plant than human. Noticing his broken arm, she asks how he got it splinted, and Ethan says Emma is a doctor. Speaking of his girlfriend, he tells Jolene his last memories, making an effort to remember. The latest news was that the virus had a plant composition, and when the infection started spreading very quickly, the couple decided to take refuge in the isolated cabin. Jolene offers to keep watch while Ethan rests, but also warns that she won't hesitate to kill him if he does any harm to her or the boy. That night, Ethan has more of his horrible nightmares where he sees a mustached man sitting at a table in various scenes where Emma is in danger. The dreams always end with a voice saying, "Wake up," but this time, waking up brings no comfort. On the contrary, Ethan wakes up with his face in a pool of blood, and the scene around him is one of complete tragedy. Amid the broken furniture and shards of glass, Jolene's body lies motionless. Ethan stumbles out of the cabin and sees a red-haired woman feeding on someone who has fallen. She doesn't resemble the zombie from the previous night, as if she had been infected more recently. When she moves away, Ethan gets closer to the victim, and we see it's the boy Sam. Ethan recognizes him, but his image flashes up alongside terrible memories of Jolene screaming his name. When the red-haired woman reappears right next to him, she doesn't attack him. The woman seems to be trying to communicate with him but can't produce any sound besides distress squeals until a gunshot suddenly takes her down. We see that it was May who shot her, approaching with a steady step and dressed for battle again. The red-haired woman is already groaning loudly when May arrives and repeats the dose. Upon seeing her also shooting at Sam, he asks if that is really necessary, and May assures him it is, explaining that both will get up soon, and her shots only serve to buy time. As she enters the cabin to deal with Jolene as well, Ethan sees a birdhouse with a symbol identical to Emma's tattoo. When he decides to inspect the object, the front of the birdhouse loosens, revealing a bundle. By this point, May has realized that Ethan doesn't remember anything from the previous day. He doesn't pay much attention when she introduces herself, as what is inside the bundle is his cell phone, and he sees that Emma recorded a video for him. Crying, his girlfriend says that his amnesia is getting worse and that she doesn't know how much longer she can hold on. Ethan himself can be seen in the video, sleeping behind her. Emma says the world has changed and people are different, but just as she is about to give an important piece of advice, the battery dies. He screams in frustration, and May pleads for him to be quiet, as making too much noise could attract the creatures. She says she has a phone charger at her place and suggests he follow her. Ethan does not suspect the invitation or the fact that she appeared at the cabin, as he genuinely doesn't remember even driving the truck to the cabin. When he compliments the vehicle as if he has never seen it, May laments that she can't use it now, as an idiot left the battery on. Resigned to pedaling home, she bends down to grab the bicycle and drops her glasses on the ground. Seeing that the lens is broken, May swears and comments about having to kill many people to get those glasses. Not quite knowing if this is a joke, Ethan tries to be cordial with the stranger and explains that he suffers from amnesia. May replies that she knows that, revealing that they already know each other. After pedaling several kilometers, they cover the last stretch on foot and pass by several zombies at different stages of transformation. Ethan tries to make small talk and asks May if she is married. Not in the mood for conversation, she simply says that her partner is dead. Arriving in the city, Ethan suddenly stops in front of a gas station that often appears in his nightmares. Then we see that the establishment's facade brings a memory to the surface. He sees himself arriving with Emma and saying that he will protect her. When they both get out of the car, she doesn't realize that a zombie is approaching until it's too close. Ethan screams to warn her and misses the first shot, but manages to take the creature down with the second. Emma seems surprised by his heroism, and this offends him slightly. Then the zombie grabs his arm, and the memory ends abruptly. Thinking that his memory has entered a new cycle, May introduces herself again. However, he says he remembers her and tries to disguise his fainting by pretending he just tripped. Back in the morbid home, May suspects something is wrong and asks for silence. Yelling threats with her gun drawn, she finds a man in the yard who introduces himself as Tom. He is looking for his wife and says he will accept any kind of charity. May takes his gun and makes it clear that she does not trust strangers, but offers food in exchange for help. The two men spend the afternoon shopping while she prepares a meal, always keeping an eye on the window. As soon as there's a break, Tom lies that he needs to relieve himself and goes to fetch the second gun he had hidden. May offers lemonade to her helpers before inviting them inside. While Tom goes to wash his hands, she tells Ethan to say that he is not hungry. He doesn't understand why but thinks it's better to obey and tries to disguise his stomach growling. Tom shows a picture of his wife, Fran, who disappeared while exploring the area 10 days ago. The last thing she told him is that she had found a house that looked very much like this one. While listening to the other man, Ethan starts feeling dizzy and ends up fainting. Tom seizes the opportunity to hold May at gunpoint, taking her weapon. She remains calm even when assaulted, observing the effects of the sedative she put in the stew. As the dizziness begins to delay her movements, Tom also realizes that he has been fooled, and May hastens the process with a blow to his head. A few minutes later, Ethan regains consciousness and sees that she is not around but hears her voice saying she will be right back. However, he also sees the front door opening and two armed people entering. One tries to wake Tom, calling his friend by name, and signals for Ethan to stay quiet. Returning with a syringe in hand, May is immediately grabbed by the intruders and tied to a chair. She claims to be diabetic and swears that the injection is insulin, but nobody believes her. Tom regains consciousness, calling his accomplices by the nicknames Fox and Wolf. He announces that he will search the whole house until he proves that Fran was here. Before starting, he warns Wolf that the hostage is tough to deal with. Ethan accompanies him on the search, and Tom tries to convince him that May has done something not only to Fran but also to Emma. In the living room, Wolf asks what's in the barn, and May says it's just dirt. Detecting signs of worry on her face, he decides to go check it out. Still very weak and constantly confused, Ethan doesn't believe Tom's theories until he finds Emma's necklace on the floor of the bedroom. Furious, Tom rushes down the stairs with a suitcase and dumps its contents onto the table. There are several cards, wallets, documents, and miscellaneous trinkets, a collection that can't possibly belong to just one person. It looks more like the result of a long haul, and the various pairs of glasses show that she wasn't choking when she told Ethan how she acquired them. Then Fox draws Tom's attention to Fran's necklace among the items, and he becomes completely distraught. At that moment, Ethan approaches May with a gun and demands that she tell the truth about Emma. She says that the girl has been dead for a long time but denies being responsible for it. Fox decides to join Wolf, who is breaking the barn lot with an axe. As soon as he gets in, he sees that the place has been transformed into a sort of hospital and recognizes the patient occupying the bed. It's one of his friends who also went missing, and he is now missing an arm. Meanwhile, Tom is shocked to hear that Ethan has amnesia and asks him if he remembers how he broke his arm. Forced to reveal the truth, May explains that Ethan has also died. At that moment, Wolf runs out of the barn to warn Tom and trips on a trap, causing an explosion. His body falls right next to Myrtle, who quickly starts to feed on him. Realizing that his companions are gone, Tom decides to finish May once and for all, not noticing that he is using her gun. The shot tears off Tom's arm, and Ethan reacts to this in the same way as Myrtle. A transformation occurs in his pupils, and he charges at the man, devouring him while May frees herself from the chair. A few minutes later, he starts to feel sick, and she comforts him in a caring tone, saying that he won't remember any of this. We see the truth of her words the next day when Ethan wakes up and doesn't even recognize her. May simply says that the food is running out, and they both need to go out to hunt. Feeling dizzy as he gets out of bed, yet another memory floods his mind. He is walking with Emma to May's house, which seems much better cared for. The man in front, chopping wood, is the same one who always appears in Ethan's nightmares. His name is Kai, and he warns the visitors that his daughter Caroline is on the porch with a gun aimed at them, just as a precaution. Emma explains that they had an accident on the road and begs for shelter, or at least some food. Kai agrees to help, but only after ensuring that the visitors are not infected. The inspection is brief, and he doesn't suspect Ethan's broken arm. Speaking to his daughter, he repeats the family mantra, which teaches to trust only after checking. The girl lets slip that this is important because of what happened to her brother Bobby, but the father dismisses it. He decides to take the couple in, and the three talk a little in the living room. Kai demonstrates to be a very religious man with strong opinions. He doesn't like the theory that the virus is a way for nature to reclaim what is hers. In a more conservative vein, he believes in a divine sign that man must return to essential things like faith and family. When this memory ends, Ethan is already outside the house, helping May with the hunt. Looking at his left arm, he notices the color of the heart drawn on the cast. His mind goes through several similar images in which the heart is always red, and in some of them, we see counting marks just below the drawing. The heart now is green, and the count is at 20. May turns when she hears Ethan cocking the gun. He warns her that she got the heart color wrong, and he is shocked when she replies that the red pen ran out, realizing that this has happened several times. The truth is that Ethan was bitten on the arm the day he saved Emma. That is what the cast has been hiding all this time, and May says that the transformation process is halted every time he feeds, preventing him from becoming a plant. His mind then returns to the moment Kai took them in, and we see that his wife is not May but rather a woman named Sarah. When Ethan begins to feel unwell, Emma makes up an excuse to take him away while the family does their prayers. Upstairs, she tells her boyfriend to be strong and swears she will never abandon him. She goes back to the table alone and thanks for the hospitality, but then Kai asks his wife to take the girl to the yard and shows that he has a gun. Sarah is also surprised and protests a bit before obeying. On their way to the door, she curiously glances upstairs. Kai tells the visitor to keep her hands on the table and says that Ethan is lost, already showing signs of the typical plant man amnesia. He asks if that's how she feeds him, always taking advantage of the kindness of strangers. Without him noticing, Sarah is climbing the stairs with her daughter behind her. Ethan is feeling extremely ill by the time they reach the bathroom, and Sarah only realizes the terrible error when it is too late. Startled by his wife's scream, Kai gets distracted for a moment, and Emma attacks him with a knife. The two begin to fight, and he slams her face into a plate before throwing her to the ground. She reaches for the gun and shoots, eliminating the last member of the family. Ethan finishes feeding on the other two, and Emma soon hears his scream of horror. Remembering how his girlfriend's face looked that day, Ethan realizes that she fulfilled the promise of never abandoning him. His life has not been easy, as he needs to eat every day and cannot consume anything that is rotting. A hospital in the barn is where she keeps some living victims so that she can take just a portion each time. As the age difference began to grow, he no longer recognized her when he awoke. So, she hid the tattoo and changed her name to May, using the same letters from the original. Devastated by the discovery, Ethan says he is a monster, but she disagrees. It is humans who are obsolete and threatened with extinction, while the infected are the new dominant species. Without listening to the argument, he says that this needs to end. May even agrees, admitting that she doesn't have the strength to continue, but says she has already tried, and it doesn't work. Alone on top of a hill, Ethan decides to test it for himself and confirms what she said. Just like the other creatures, he simply doesn't die. So, May decides to end it differently. Letting Ethan see her as the woman he loved, she surrenders herself without reservation, knowing that he won't be able to control his instincts. The transformed young man bites his partner uncontrollably, and not long after, the couple finally reunites, but this time, as equals. Thanks for watching Nacho's Movie Recaps. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for updates. Share your thoughts or requests in the comments below. See you next time.